You clicked on this video for a reason. Something inside you recognized those words, didn't it? Group 7. There's this quiet knowing that's been sitting in your chest, this sense that you're different from everyone around you, but you've never had a name for it until now. Well, here's the thing. You're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You're not overthinking it. You are part of something that most people will never understand, never experience, and frankly, never be ready for. Group 7 isn't some exclusive club you sign up for. It's not a movement or a trend or something you can fake your way into. It's a recognition. It's what happens when life has pushed you so far beyond the ordinary human experience that you start operating on a completely different frequency. And if you're here, if those words hit something deep inside you, then you already know what I'm talking about. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot. They follow scripts they didn't write, chase goals they don't actually want, and settle into patterns that feel safe, even when they're slowly suffocating their souls. But Group 7, you've been shaken awake. Not gently, not gradually, but with the kind of force that cracks you open and refuses to let you go back to sleep. See, what makes Group 7 different isn't just that you've experienced intense shifts. It's that those shifts fundamentally rewired how you see reality itself. Where others see problems, you see patterns. Where others feel chaos, you sense underlying order. Where others run from discomfort, you've learned to find wisdom in the darkness. You've developed what I call expanded perception, and once you have it, there's no going back to the shallow end of existence. But let's be honest about what this actually looks like, because Group 7 isn't some enlightened paradise where everything becomes easy. It's messier than that. It's the ability to hold contradictions without needing to resolve them immediately. It's feeling deeply connected to humanity while simultaneously feeling completely alone in your experience. It's knowing things you can't explain to people who wouldn't understand anyway. Your mindset operates differently now. Where most people think in terms of either or, you think in terms of both and. Where others see endings, you see transformations. Where others fear the unknown, you've learned that the unknown is where all real growth lives. You don't just think outside the box anymore. You've realized the box was an illusion in the first place. This shows up in how you make decisions. You've stopped asking, "What will people think?" and started asking, "What feels true?" You've stopped choosing based on what looks good from the outside and started choosing based on what creates expansion from the inside. And that shift, that fundamental reorientation toward authenticity over approval, it changes everything. Your intuition has become impossible to ignore. It's not just gut feelings anymore. It's like having access to information that exists beyond the 5 senses. You walk into rooms and immediately know the energy. You meet people and sense their intentions before they've even spoken. You feel called towards certain paths and repelled by others for reasons you can't always articulate, but you've learned to trust it because it's never steered you wrong. This heightened intuitive awareness means you pick up on subtleties that others miss entirely. The slight shift in someone's voice that reveals their true feelings, the way certain opportunities feel aligned, while others feel forced. The difference between fear that's warning you and fear that's just resistance to growth. You've become fluent in a language that most people don't even know exists. But here's what nobody tells you about developing this level of sensitivity. It's exhausting. You feel everything more intensely. Joy hits deeper, but so does pain. Love feels more expansive, but loss feels more devastating. You can't numb yourself to the difficult emotions without also numbing yourself to the beautiful ones. So you learn to hold it all, to be present with the full spectrum of human experience without being overwhelmed by it. Your emotional growth has accelerated beyond what seems normal. You've done years of healing in months. You've processed generational patterns that others carry unconsciously for their entire lives. You've learned to feel your feelings fully without being controlled by them. You've developed what I call emotional mastery, not because you've transcended emotions, but because you've learned to work with them as allies rather than enemies. This emotional sophistication means you respond rather than react. You can sit with discomfort without immediately needing to fix it or escape from it. You can hold space for others' pain without taking it on as your own. You can love people while maintaining boundaries. You can forgive without forgetting the lessons. These aren't skills most people develop, because most people aren't forced to develop them, but Group 7 gets forced. Life doesn't give you the luxury of staying emotionally immature. Your circumstances demand growth. Your experiences require expansion. Your soul insists on evolution, whether your ego is ready or not. And through that pressure, you develop capacities that seem almost supernatural to people operating at ordinary levels of consciousness. The isolation that comes with being Group 7 is real, and it's profound. You can be surrounded by people and feel completely alone because nobody else is having the conversations you need to have. Nobody else is asking the questions that keep you awake at night. Nobody else understands why you can't just be satisfied with surface level anymore. You've outgrown small talk, but you haven't found your tribe yet. You've evolved beyond gossip and complaints, but meaningful connection feels rare. You see through the social masks everyone wears, but calling it out would make you the problem. So you learn to exist in this strange space between worlds, belonging fully to neither the unconscious masses nor the awakened few. This isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're being prepared for something bigger than what your current environment can contain. You're being stretched beyond the limitations of your previous social circles, because your next level of existence requires different kinds of relationships, deeper connections, more authentic interactions, conversations that feed your soul instead of draining it. The resilience you've developed is unlike anything most people will ever need. You've survived things that would break others. You've found strength in places you didn't know strength existed. You've learned to alchemize pain into wisdom, trauma into compassion, and confusion into clarity, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. This resilience isn't hard or rigid, it's flexible and adaptive. You bend without breaking. You flow around obstacles instead of fighting them. You've learned that true strength isn't about never falling down. It's about how quickly you can get back up and how much you can learn from the fall. Every setback becomes data. Every failure becomes fertilizer. Every ending becomes a beginning. And now, something's shifting again. You can feel it, can't you? That familiar sensation of being on the edge of another breakthrough. The restlessness that comes before transformation. The sense that who you've been isn't quite enough for where you're going next. The signs are subtle at first, but once you start paying attention, they're undeniable. Your sleep patterns have been shifting. Not insomnia exactly, but this strange awakeness that comes at 3 a.m. when the world is quiet and your mind starts downloading insights you didn't ask for. You wake up with knowing you can't trace to any conversation or book or experience. It just arrives, fully formed, like your consciousness is receiving transmissions from somewhere else entirely. Your relationship with time has become fluid. Minutes feel like hours when you're in deep conversation or creative flow. Hours disappear, like minutes when you're processing or integrating. Linear time starts feeling like a construct that doesn't quite apply to your experience anymore. You're operating on what feels like soul time, where progress is measured in internal shifts rather than external accomplishments. The way you consume information has completely changed. You can't stomach most mainstream content anymore. Movies feel shallow. News feels manipulative. Social media feels like watching people perform versions of themselves they don't even recognize. Your system has developed this automatic filtering mechanism that rejects anything that doesn't carry real substance, real truth, real depth. But here's where it gets interesting. You've started attracting different kinds of experiences without even trying. Synchronicities become so frequent, they stop feeling like coincidences. The right books appear exactly when you need them. Conversations happen that directly address questions you've been wrestling with privately. Opportunities emerge that feel impossibly aligned with your inner direction. This isn't magical thinking. This is what happens when someone starts operating from authentic alignment instead of societal programming. You become a magnet for what matches your frequency, and you naturally repel what doesn't serve your evolution. The universe starts responding to who you actually are instead of who you think you should be. Your body has been changing too, not just physically, though that might be happening, but energetically. You feel things in your chest, your stomach, your throat that aren't quite emotions and aren't quite sensations. It's like your nervous system is upgrading itself to handle higher levels of awareness. Some days you feel electric. Other days you feel like you need to discharge energy you didn't even know you were carrying. The old coping mechanisms stop working entirely. You can't numb yourself with the same distractions. You can't escape into fantasy the way you used to. You can't pretend things are fine when they're not. Your system has developed this ruthless commitment to truth that won't let you hide from yourself anymore. And while this is ultimately liberating, the transition period feels like losing your emotional training wheels. Your standards have shifted in ways that make no logical sense. You'd rather have one authentic conversation than 10 superficial ones. You'd rather spend an evening alone in meaningful reflection than at a party pretending to enjoy yourself. You'd rather have uncomfortable truth than comfortable lies. This isn't antisocial behavior. This is what happens when your soul starts making the decisions instead of your conditioning. The people in your life start sorting themselves into two categories: those who can meet you at this new depth and those who can't. The ones who can't aren't bad people. They're just operating at a different frequency now. And the gap between where you are and where they are becomes too wide to bridge with casual conversation and shared history. But the ones who can meet you at this level, the connection feels electric, like finding your long-lost family, like speaking your native language for the first time. These relationships don't just feel good, they feel necessary, like your soul has been starving for this kind of recognition and finally gets to feast. You start recognizing others from Group 7 before they recognize themselves. There's something in their eyes, something in the way they move through the world, something in the questions they ask that gives them away. They're still operating from the old paradigm, but you can see the cracks forming. You can sense the awakening that's trying to happen, and sometimes just witnessing them with that kind of recognition is enough to catalyze their next breakthrough. Your creativity has exploded in directions you didn't see coming. Not necessarily artistic creativity, though that might be part of it, but creative problem solving, creative relationship building, creative ways of existing that don't fit into conventional categories. You've become an innovator of your own experience, designing a life that works for who you actually are, rather than trying to squeeze yourself into templates that were never meant to fit you. The fear that used to run your decisions has transformed into something else entirely. Not fearlessness exactly, but fear that's been alchemized into excitement. The same energy that used to paralyze you now propels you forward. You've learned the difference between fear that protects and fear that imprisons, and you only listen to the kind that keeps you alive, not the kind that keeps you small. Money, status, traditional success markers have lost their hypnotic power over you, not because you've become anti-materialistic, but because you've developed the ability to see through the illusion that these things provide lasting satisfaction. You want financial freedom, but for different reasons now. You want success, but you define it differently. You want recognition, but only from people whose opinions actually matter to your soul's development. The loneliness has been profound, but it's starting to shift into something else. Solitude, sacred space, time with the most important person in your existence, which is you. You're learning to enjoy your own company in ways that feel revolutionary. You're discovering that the relationship you have with yourself sets the template for every other relationship in your life. And now you're standing at another threshold, aren't you? You can feel it building like pressure before a storm. Something wants to emerge through you, but you can't quite see its shape yet. Something wants to be created, expressed, birthed into reality, but the timing isn't quite right yet. You're in that space between what was and what will be, and it's electric with possibility. So here you are, Group 7. You've recognized yourself in every word, haven't you? The expanded perception, the heightened intuition, the emotional mastery that came through fire, the profound isolation that's preparing you for something greater, the resilience that bends but never breaks. You felt the signs of another transformation, building beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. This isn't the end of your journey. This is confirmation that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. That restlessness you're feeling, that sense of standing at another threshold, that electric possibility charging the air around you, trust it. You've learned to trust everything else about this process. Trust this too. You didn't choose to be Group 7. Group 7 chose you. And now you understand why. Because the world needs people who can hold complexity, who can see patterns, who can alchemize pain into wisdom and transform chaos into clarity. The world needs people who've been forged in the fires of intense growth and emerged with capacities that seem impossible to those still sleeping. You're not alone anymore. You never were. You just needed to remember who you are. And now that you remember, everything changes. Again.